And good morning, Newton Falls. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Lynch. I'm the city manager here for Newton Falls, Ohio, and this is our normal morning update that we have on Tuesday and Friday mornings at around 7:30. All the technology allowing us to do so. Please tune in every Tuesday and Friday morning around 7:30 so we can give you some local information about what's happening. We started these programs in response to the pandemic, but we continue them as just a service to the community about some things that are happening around town. And also thanks to Gregory Films, Tom Gregory and his crew. You know, they provide this production to the city at zero cost to the taxpayers. Zero cost to the taxpayers. So we're very grateful to the contribution they've made to our community by allowing us to continue with these programs. Well, this morning I'm going to talk about something that's a little bit different because we frequently have someone who's a public official talking about the pandemic, or someone who's trying to operate a business during these pandemic times, or other news related to business activities. But today's program is going to almost be looking at a form of Agatha Christie mystery. And what I mean by that is we encountered a very significant mystery just Sunday, 2 days ago. And it started about 1 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. And what happened was folks in our water treatment plant noticed that water was leaving our water system. And it wasn't something we were doing voluntarily. And that water leaving our system was leaving in a way that was really a threat to us being able to keep a high enough level of water in our tower to make sure all of our residents had all the consumable water that they needed. So we needed to find out what the problem was, and it ended up being masked by the fact that Trumbull County, which has a tap-in line, started to draw off water at around the same time, making us think that maybe this all had something to do with Trumbull County. Well, when we got a handle on what Trumbull County was taking out of our system, we realized something dramatically was wrong because water was still coming out of our system, and we had to find out where the water was. Well, that's when our own crew of detectives sprang into action. And, you know, they get these calls in the middle of the night, and they come out and they try to find out what's going on. And the man who heads up that department is Chuck Lane from our water distribution department. And he was contacted in the wee hours of Sunday morning. Hey, Chuck, how are you this morning?
Good. How are you today?
Good, good. All right, Chuck, well, I've sort of established chapters 1 and 2 of this mystery. Can you sort of take up the narrative and tell us what happened next?
All right. The operator called me. I come out. I went down and spoke with him, assessed what was going on. Naturally, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's dark out. So I started to drive the system, check some trouble spots that were known to have this problem. We've had contractors doing some work in town here, so I checked those areas just to make sure nothing failed in those areas. Drove around for about 3 hours, couldn't see anything because it was dark. So went back to the plant, spoke with the operator. Everything seemed to be not okay, but okay. So I went home and sat in my chair for a couple hours till daylight, come back, and me and one of my men, we went out and started checking the system in the daylight. We have about 45 miles of pipe. We have areas that are down over hills and swampy areas. So it took a little bit of time to check all those areas.
Yeah, Chuck, I'll interrupt you just for a minute. 45 miles of pipe, and your job is to find where is water escaping from the system. And the obvious way of doing this is just visualizing accumulation of water. And at first, we thought it would be pretty easy to spot because a lot of water was escaping from the system. But the visualization wasn't really helping, was it?
No, after we drove the system and couldn't see anything, I spoke with the wastewater department, and they said that their flow was not up. So that indicated it's either the township or going to river or somehow. So then we diverted our attention to that, started checking those. We had checked our river crossings. We have 8 of those. Still, we didn't see anything. So then we went to listening to on valves at our large businesses and stuff that were closed because of it being Sunday. And after we checked those, we went back to listening on the system.
Hey, Chuck, I want to stop you again in terms of the narrative because a lot of time was going by. You first learned about this at 1 o'clock in the morning, and by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 12 hours later, water's still pouring out of the system, and you still don't know where the leak is. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Yeah, so all over the place. And I might mention that eventually we sent out an alert to all of our citizens. We brought to look for the leaks. We called in auxiliary police officers, so we had more eyes. We had a number of employees driving all around town, and to some extent, it's almost like we were looking for the wrong thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. So once we started listening to the valves and the hydrants, ran upon a spot where I finally got some sound. So then we started checking valves and trying to pinpoint it, and we eventually found it to be the river crossing at Ridgeway Place.
Now, Chuck, what time was that when you finally started to get a way of honing in on this? 4 o'clock. Yeah, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now that's 15 hours of water escaping from our system in large volume. Chuck, have you ever had that happen before where it was that long with such a large break?
Yeah, we've had one other one, and it's been a while ago. We've had a few over the years, but usually something shows up, somewhere, someone sees it or something and notifies us. But this one here is it's like 750 feet from Ridge Road back in the woods, down over the riverbank. We had walked back there. I believe it's like right at the bank, so you can't see it. So we shut the valves off. It's isolated. No one was or is without water today. Everything's all good. We're assessing the situation and going to get it taken care of.
Yeah. Chuck, I want to talk about the way you eventually did detect, and right now on the screen we're showing the location of the river where that pipe is located going under the river. One of the techniques that you use is, and I noticed you with those headphones, you actually are connecting a listening device to a fire hydrant. Is that correct?
Yeah, we listen on fire hydrants, main valves, curb valves, anything metallic. The sound will travel, and we can hear pretty far distance with it. So once I heard the sound on the fire hydrant, I went north and south, east and west, and trying to narrow it down to which direction the sound was the loudest, and then we proceeded from there.
Okay. Chuck, I'll make sure I understand that technology. The sound of the water escaping from the system, generally speaking, is a loud sound, so that if you can tap into pipes around the neighborhood by attaching this listening device to a fire hydrant, you're basically using a form of sound tracing to figure out where the break is. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's plastic pipe. It doesn't work very well on at all. You can't go very far distance. Any metal pipe, it's copper, cast iron, ductile iron, galvanized. The sound will travel real far, and you can listen. So that's what we did, and that's how we eventually found it and got her shut down, and here we are today. Yay.
Now, Chuck, one of the problems that we had was people were looking for the pooling of water, either in the middle of a street or in a backyard or something like that. You said this water main break is actually under the river. So why didn't we see water accumulating somewhere? Wouldn't it have come backed up onto one of the banks or something?
It's kind of hard. The depth of the river, where this crossing is located, there is not a falls, but there's a lot of rippling that goes on down there. we check these periodically. We walk back there, and when there isn't a break, it's like ripply and stuff like that on this particular one. Some of the other ones, if the river's flowing, it's smooth, you can tell. We had the 8th Street crossing one year blow a hole in, and you could see it bubbling out in it. But this one here was kind of hard to detect. So with the listening device, we were able to pinpoint it and get it taken care of.
Yeah. Now, Chuck, why is it when we have water main breaks, it frequently means a reduction in service or elimination of service for businesses and or residents? That's not the case this time. Why is that?
The location of the break itself and the location of the main valves that we use to isolate it, we were fortunate enough that no one was tied off of it in between them two.
Yeah, but eventually, in order for us to preserve the integrity of the system, we'll have to repair this. And you know, I've seen you repair water main breaks before when you're digging up the road or the Devil Strip. This is under the river, Chuck. So how do you deal with an issue like that?
You call a professional. And the last time, the 8th Street one, we had a contractor come in, and they have bigger equipment, and they trenched it and laid a new pipe in, new valves and stuff. We don't have the equipment to do something like this.
Sure. So do you basically insert a sleeve, or you actually trying to trench underneath the river?
That one there, they trenched. The location of this one, it might be a directional bore because of where it's at and everything. You got real steep banks on the one side. There's rock, so it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I bet so. And we're anticipating that we can get a contractor in here, not right away, obviously, but maybe sometime within the next couple of weeks or so.
Yes, we, excuse me, have someone come in and take a look at it and get some pricing and see what it's going to be, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Now, Chuck, one of the things I want to make sure we covered in unraveling this mystery that we had to deal with is that the issues we've had with discoloration of the water have nothing to do with this water main break. I mean, we've been struggling with the algae bloom for the last couple of weeks, so that's got nothing to do with this water main break, does it?
We had the algae, we had the manganese. I'm sure when this, initially happened, you're going to have the reversal of the normal flow of water. And like when we do our residual flushing every year, it scours the line. It's changing the direction of flow, normal flow. So it's going to stir up some, but I would say after a little bit, 15, 20 minutes, that would all be cleared up. And what we've been experiencing and are experiencing is from the manganese and that, and it's decreasing. And Jeff from the water plant can explain that a little better. But
yeah,
as far as the water break itself, no, it really has nothing to do with the brown water that we're experiencing currently.
Sure. And I know Jeff is continuing to make some adjustments as
yes,
water plant operators are all across the country during this time of year. It's interesting, Chuck, because the algae blooms and manganese issues seem to happen during these warm periods, but sometimes the cold parts of the year have their own set of problems for you guys, don't they?
Yeah. Excuse me. Yes. Different times of year, different problems. The guys at the plant, they do numerous tests a day. There's a sample taken out in the system every day. We get 8 bacteria samples a month out in the system. There's samples sent out monthly to labs, so they're constantly monitoring and checking. But when you're dealing with the mighty Mahoning here that changes so much, it's hard to, they watch it, but sometimes it's like, something will pop up like bam, and then they attack it and do the best they can.
Sure, yeah. Well, sourcing water from a river is a completely different game than sourcing water from Lake Erie. And, the folks in Cleveland Water Department, they have something called the 5 Mile Crib. and it's way, in fact, you can see it with the naked eye. It's kind of an orange and white thing, but it's way out into Lake Erie. And Lake Erie certainly has a lot more constancy than the ever-flowing, ever-changing Mahoning River, doesn't it?
Yes, they're more of a constant that they, yes, surface water and groundwater wells is kind of like Lake Erie. It's more constant. So it's the rivers and stuff like that. So
sure,
makes it a little bit of a challenge.
A little bit of a challenge. Well, listen, Chuck, on behalf of our community, thank you. I don't know if people understood the timeline of what happened, but you sprang into action 1 o'clock in the morning on Sunday and were awake and working and searching and finding out what was going on until you began to find out what was happening around 4 o'clock on Sunday, and then you stuck right at it. My guess is you didn't get home until sometime about 7 or 8 o'clock on Sunday night.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
my guys at the plant, they all helped out a lot. So plus the auxiliaries and everybody else that was out looking. I appreciate it, and you work as a team, you get stuff accomplished.
Sure. Chuck, give us the names of the rest of your team in water distribution that did such a great job.
Let's see, Travis Olesko, Cody Zelany, and then we had Ray Kovacs at the water plant. Cody was at the water plant, and the superintendent, Jeff Hawkins.
Yeah, and Ray Kovacs, he's been part of our water team in Newton Falls for many years, and he's seen a lot of things, hasn't he?
Yes, yep. He's one of them old timers. He's probably around 28 years or something like that. I'm not exactly sure.
All right. Well, Ray's going to get you for calling him an old timer. You know that, don't you, Chuck?
He is older than me, so.
Okay.
But I'm not very far behind him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, Chuck Lane and all the guys in water distribution, and again Jeff Hawkins and water treatment. That was one of those weekends that you don't want to have happen too often, but due to your tremendous expertise, you guys were able to find the problem and isolate it so that we can all make sure that we have adequate, potable, consumable water. So, Chuck, thank you. Get some rest. I saw you at the staff meeting early on Monday morning, and you look like you're ready to attack the world again. So it's going to catch up with you. So get some rest here one of these days, would you?
Yeah, this stuff don't wait. So we got stuff that we have to do. But thank you. I appreciate it, and have a good day.
All right. Thanks, Chuck. Keep up the great work. Okay, that was Chuck Lane from our water distribution department. And, Earl Stanley Gardner would call this the tale of the mysterious leak. Not exactly a real spellbinding title, but nonetheless, quite a mysterious event where people all over the town were trying to figure out what was going on. In fact, one of the TV stations even posted an alert when they saw my Facebook page for folks to help us find where the leak was. And thank goodness we did. An unusual leak, though, a pipe that runs under the River Mahoning. Quite unusual. Well, we're getting close to the end of the program, but I did want to switch gears for just a little bit. As we get into this time of year, we are getting into hurricane season. And right now, Hurricane Isaias is coming up the East Coast. It was slamming into North Carolina yesterday. And one of the frequent spin-off effects of a hurricane on the East Coast is that it portends weather that goes further inland into the Midwest and causes all kinds of weather difficulties, including the potential for tornadoes. In fact, along the North Carolina coast, the Hurricane Isaias has already caused a number of tornadoes. And although the hurricane itself has been downgraded to a tropical storm, it is heading inland and up the rest of the East Coast as a tropical storm. And it is bound to, in the next 24 to 48 to 72 hours, cause weather patterns that are difficult and tornado activity right here in the Midwest. So be careful, keep your eyes out, and sign up for Code Red. Every now and then we bring it up, and we want you to make sure that you get to the Code Red application or website. And it's real easy on a desktop or on your phone. Go to onsolve, onsolve.com/register. And this will mean that when bad weather or threatening weather is coming your way, you'll have advance warning through your cell phone, through your desktop computer, through your hardline phone by a voicemail message, and through a text. Imagine that. Every single way that you have for a human being to communicate with you will be put into our Code Red system so that you can get the advance notice. Now, why is that important? The single most important factor, according to the National Weather Service, for saving lives when tornadoes are on their way is advance warning. And in Newton Falls, we've experienced what it's like to have terrible destruction and threatening weather because of what we went through in the mid-1980s. So we're sensitive to that sort of thing. You should be in particular sensitive by signing up for Code Red. And by the way, the cost to you is nothing, zero, nada. It is a service we provide to the taxpayers because we want you to be safe. In addition to that, not just tornado warnings, but other things that are life-threatening. And that means flooding or other issues. And we want to make sure we have a way of accessing you so you have advance information no matter what's occurring, so you can protect the life of not just yourself, but your family, maybe even your neighbors. So that's another program wrapped up. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back on Friday morning around 7:30. As I say at the end of each one of these broadcasts, God bless America and God bless the city of Newton Falls.